What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of Coffeez for Closers. Today, we're excited to spotlight Dawar Alimi, the visionary CEO and co-founder of LenderPrice. With over 2 decades in the mortgage industry, Dawar has become a reverend figure in the financial tech sector. Under his leadership, LenderPrice has surged over 300% in growth since 2015, impressively increasing sales revenue in the last 12 months despite industry downturns. This success caught the private equity sector's eye, enabling further innovation. LenderPrice now leads in the mortgage space, serving 22 of the top 30 wholesale lenders and managing about $30 billion in loans through its platform. Join us as we delve into Dawar's journey and the innovative strides LenderPrice is making in the mortgage space. Welcome, Dawar Alimi. Thank you, Dawar, for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Man, I'm so stoked. I've been trying to get you on the show for probably over a month and a half now. So I'm pumped that you're here. And more importantly, I'm really excited about all the massive strides that LenderPrice has made in the last year. Like, you're just notifying me now, and I'm very proud of you for this. Like, ReadyPrice is out of business. Like, they were trying to gain market share. Like, you put them out of the game.
Well, I don't. I mean, it's good for us. I don't like any vendor to go out of go out of business. But what I tell everyone at our company is, rather than focusing on competitors, just focus on what you do best and what we do best. Because the only thing that we can control is what we do, not what others do.
I love it. I love it. Now, the way I like to start the podcast is like, I like to humanize you a little bit because everybody's like, oh, who's this big CEO that they're bringing in here? And, so we're going to dive right into it. So when you wake up every morning, like, what's your morning routine consist of?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I actually wake up at 4 o'clock. So my internal clock is 4 a.m.
I love it. Mine too.
And then immediately go out. I've got a very cheap coffee machine that just makes coffee.
Not a Jura, it's like a Keurig or just a regular old school coffee machine.
A coffee maker, and I put the McDonald's coffee, right? Because before that, I used to go to McDonald's every day, or let's say even Starbucks. And then I looked at my bill. I was like, oh my God, I'm spending a lot of money. And then I looked at Amazon. I was like, hey, I could get like the McDonald's coffee at my house. That's perfect. So that's what I do is I have my McDonald's coffee. I get on my computer, look at emails. Sometimes, we use Gmail. I actually send out emails the night before and I actually schedule it. But real quick, all I do is just look at emails and then I go work out. I do HIIT training. That's my thing. I'm not a gym guy, so.
What time do you do your HIIT training?
Usually around 6 o'clock, 6 a.m.
I went today. Which one do you go to?
F45.
Nice. Nike just opened their vertical of that. I think they're going to take all the market share, just like LenderPrice is doing to everybody else. Nike's going to put out F45. They just launched it. I'm at their pilot gym. They opened it in Santa Monica, Newport, and Miami.
So who's F45 spokesman? It's
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg must be pissed, right?
Yeah, he's going to be pissed.
Yeah, but I mean, for a while, I weighed like close to 200 pounds. Today I'm at 159, and I contribute that to obviously just eating right and intermittent fasting. Obviously, right? We talked about that. So fasting, and just exercising. For me, it's a way for me to, have the energy that I need in the morning to get to work.
Yeah.
It gets me through the day, but it's also allows me to focus better. As a kid, and my son, my son has ADD, and I had ADD. So
I have ADD too.
Do you? Yeah, we all. And then it kind of gets me to like focus better when I get to work. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's something. It puts me in the zone too. I have to do it. I do it 7 days a week right now. It's like an addiction.
Do you? Okay. Yeah. What, the HIIT training? Or?
Yeah, HIIT training.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I started off before doing a lot more, but I've pared it down to like literally 4 or 5 days, and I really like doing the weight training part.
Yeah.
Only because I'm going to be 50 years old this year.
Nice. You look great. 50 years old. What are we doing?
Just what I said. And, and I think the reason why I did it is because when my kids were younger, they wanted to, they started playing sports, and I just couldn't keep up with them.
Yeah.
And I said, I've got to do something about this. Plus, I've got, a history of heart problems. My mother just had triple bypass surgery. And I was like, how can I reverse all this stuff? And at the end of the day, it's just doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is eating right and exercising, and just try to get your body to a point where it's healthy.
I love it. I love it. So that's, I noticed that trend in leaders is that they always got to take care of the human temple, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, if you're not healthy, you don't have the energy and you don't have the mental capacity to actually make tough decisions.
Yeah. I love it. Great advice. So I'm going to dive into how you got started in the mortgage space, and then we'll talk about how you got started in the fintech mortgage space. Okay. So when did you start in the mortgage space? And we could dive into like our little history too.
So I've got an undergrad and graduate degree in computer science, but as an undergrad, I went to Cal State San Marcos, and when I graduated from Cal State with an undergraduate degree, on the day of graduation, so I was student body president. On the day of graduation, my parents were there, and I was in the science section. And being Middle Eastern, right? There's two things that your parents want you: is to be either a doctor or
an engineer. Right? Engineer.
Those are two things,
like,
right? And then so
we don't have a choice.
Yeah. So then that day, I said, so my mother's like, my aunts are there, like, oh, my son, he's going to be a doctor and this and this and that, and with their accent. And I was like, well, Mom, it's computers. And she said, what
is a computer?
What did you do? I wasted my time. I came to this country and I did all this for you, and you just threw your life away, right? Now she's proud, by the way. But that's how I started. And then I ended up moving back with a bunch of guys in Pasadena. We rented a place, and they were all in the mortgage industry. And I thought that back then I was an engineer working at GTE. Now it's called Verizon. So that kind of dates me back, right? And I started, all my roommates were in the mortgage industry, and they started bringing all these big checks, right? And then they're like, hey, look what I got, and this and that, and they had all this. And then I just had, a job, had, everything was fine. I had healthcare, the traditional things to do, right? And then so, then I remember my friend Mike and my friend Omar and Danny, and they were looking at things, I was looking at their paychecks, and I was like, that's not what you're making. That's someone's like, down payment and this and that. And like, no, this is what I'm making. And because I've always had an entrepreneur spirit and heart, I decided to leave my 9-to-5 job, just getting a salary, and ended up working for a broker and doing IT stuff. And I did that for a while. And then I learned the business. And then again, Middle Eastern, opening up, your own business. And I ended up a brokerage first, and then grew that into a wholesale mortgage company. Then I opened up an escrow company.
What was the mortgage company that you started called?
Cornerstone Lending.
Cornerstone.
Yeah.
Just a quick side note, guys, if you don't know, I think it was my first mortgage company job. I was just a runt in his office working at one of his branches. He didn't even know me.
Well, last time, we had a mutual friend called Emil, right? He goes, hey, so Emil's doing fantastic. He's got this company called EMC. I'm like, really? I was like, who's Emil? He goes, dude, you remember Sleepy Joe? You're not sleepy.
No.
You've got more energy than anyone here.
I didn't even know how I got that name. That's crazy. Maybe.
Who you are. I can tell you that.
That's so funny. So that's how you entered the business, out of the mortgage business. And when did you enter the fintech business? So you started your own mortgage company, and then when did you transition to starting a fintech company?
So after in 2008, right before the mortgage debacle, I had a wholesale mortgage company servicing brokers, and just like with everyone that crashed at that time, I crashed with them, right? Because credit market froze. You couldn't do anything. Your warehouse lenders didn't, you lost all warehouse capacity. You couldn't lend, right?
Yeah.
So then I couldn't really push the wholesale mortgage company. And because I had a engineering background, my wife worked at Bank of America. And Bank of America at the time was having problems with short sales and loan modifications. The banks at the time didn't have a way to actually handle loan modifications and short sales, and they didn't have an application. CoreLogic had something, and then at Bank of America, they were running everything through these things called stored procedures, SQL stored procedures. So I got brought in as a consultant. So my wife was at dinner with a team of executives there, and they said that we have a problem. And then my wife's like, "Hey, my husband is an engineer and he knows mortgages, so maybe he might be able to help." Sure enough, I worked for them as a consultant, ended up running one of their groups that handled loan modifications and short sales, did that for a while. The entrepreneur in me came back, and I said, "I can't do this." And then sure enough, we were actually dealing with a lot of the Treasury supplemental directives that the Treasury was, the bank was dealing with it and getting fined, and, thousands of loan modifications was down to, a lot lesser number. And I felt like the problem was fixed, right? And then I got recruited with a company called CCG. It's a tax credit company. It was one of the tax credit companies at the time. And I became CTO at that company. And I got introduced to, so they had they had a payroll app that competed against Paychex and ADP. And they also had a tax credit side. And again, on the tax credit side, what really attracted me to that business was, the CEO said, "This is how we deal with tax credits." So they have these enterprise zone tax credits. And what we do is we go with all the Fortune 100 companies and we say, "Look, if we can save you X amount of money in tax credits, so basically you get a tax credit if you hire a former felon. You get a tax credit if you hire someone at over the age of, I believe, 50. So the government, so the state of California, just like any other states, they have these tax credits and they would give you incentives. So all they would do is just itemize that. They had an electronic signature way of actually doing it because they got, because our software was connected inside, what was it called? It wasn't ADP, it was Taleo, right? And so anytime someone would, let's say foster farms would hire people, it would tally up all the tax credit, and then you would go back to a company, let's say EMC, and you go, "Hey, you've got $150,000 in tax credit that you can use to reduce to use your corporate taxes. But if you use it, you have to give us 30% of whatever you used."
It sounds like an ERC
right?
business now. That's what they brought the business back like that, ERC credit.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while, and then I met my partner Li Ku there. And the other thing that attracted me is the architecture and how well the code was written. And Li Ku was the chief engineer there, and met with him. Interesting part with that is that I combined both technology groups into one, and I let go a bunch of Li Ku's family members that were working there. But we're still partners today, so he's our CTO. So, he forgave me. And then we started Lenderprice.
That's awesome. So you started Lenderprice, what year was that?
2015, 2016. Really, we incorporated in 2015. We really started in 2016.
Yeah, right around when we started incorporated eMortgage Capital. So, and then you didn't gain, when did you attract the eye of Kevin Costner and Glenn Stearns? How did you get such big names to invest in your company?
Yeah. So, actually I created an LOS back in 2002 and failed at that.
And then how does Kevin Costner even know about the mortgage industry?
So he didn't at the time, but the way that I got introduced to him was that when I quit CCG, Li Ku quit at the same time. I was like, "What are you doing?" Right? And he goes, "We're going to start this together." And we also started with a good friend, German Centeno, and he started, but then he left and he came back. And when we started it, we just started writing the code because I actually got a pass from my wife. So I said, "Laura, I was like, I'm going to do something that I have a passion for. I want to build software. That's what I went to school for, and this is what I love." And she said, "Okay," raising two kids, she's salaried and I had no income. It was tough. And we started building the software. And as we're building the software, we knew that we had something. And then we got introduced to Rod Lake, who's Kevin Costner's partner. he came in and he said, "Hey, I love this solution." He goes, "I want to invest," and Kevin and Rod just wrote checks because that's what Hollywood people do. And then I go, "What do I do?" And I contacted the top real estate, the top startup attorney in Pasadena, Albert Lee, and he said, "You can't accept these checks. There's a process. That's the way it's done in Hollywood. You can't do this." So then I was like, okay. And then my brother-in-law started a company called Quantifind, they compete against Palantir today. They got investments from Andreessen and Redpoint, and he said, "Let me connect you with VCs." And then we got connected to various VCs. We got other term sheets there, and then we ultimately went with Rod and Kevin as our first angel investors. Then Kevin said, "Hey, I've got this guy that he went on a hunting trip with." He goes, he's this guy Glenn Stearns, and he owns a mortgage company, and I don't know if you know him, but he might be another person that we may want to get invested in the company.
So Kevin Costner introduced you to Glenn Stearns?
Kevin Costner introduced me to Glenn Stearns.
Isn't that so funny? It's like he's not even in the mortgage industry, and he introduces you to Glenn. But Glenn goes dove hunting in like Europe all the time, and he always goes with like different mega celebrities.
We both love hunting, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had a meeting at the Sunset Marquee, and then Glenn was there, and Glenn was like, we were pitching him the software, and he goes, "I love this," and then he invested after that.
His wife's coming on the show next week, and then he's coming on the show in a couple weeks. So, yeah,
so I think that in this situation, because we got lucky, because I don't think that we're in the right time. From a timing perspective, it was great, right? But just like business, there's the vision and the passion of you actually doing something that you love, and then there's the luck, right, of who you meet.
That was pretty lucky.
Timing.
Yeah, and everything just kind of the stars aligned for you to really kick lender price off.
Yeah. So yeah.
And then you started to really like attract the big name mortgage companies. Like I was introduced to you a couple of years ago, maybe the Nexa guys and all the big mortgage companies, and you still don't know all of them. I still got to introduce you a few of them.
Yeah. You do.
Yeah. And I got you just for coming on the show.
Okay.
But now you're really like gaining steam. And now with Ready Price out of the space, we're working on Loan Sifter next.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I've been gunning for them for a while, so
yeah. We got the software really improved and enhanced. It's UI, so that's going to be a big help.
Yep.
And then obviously, how'd you get the agreement with UWM? I mean, I could have really helped you with that, but
well, I mean, UWM has been they've been in our solution. We're hoping to work out something with them soon. So I think by the time this airs, hopefully that comes into fruition. But I think for us on the wholesale space, it was mainly working with the wholesale lenders and offering them a option outside of Loan Sifter, because Loan Sifter is very, very, very expensive for the wholesale lenders. Very expensive. So we come at a fraction of the cost. And then for us, it was like increasing the user base. That was really important. So we increased the user base and, gaining trust. And still till today, we have still brokers, as you know, users that use Loan Sifter and users that use our solution. And we're always trying to find innovative ways to try to get some of those Loan Sifters away, and some of them just, you can't, because it's just muscle memory, and
they love their UI, yeah.
And we've come out with 2.1 to tackle that.
Yeah.
But it's constantly like
your new UI is superior to their existing UI.
Yeah.
So.
Our UI is, and then I think that what's important is listening, especially in software, and I think in any business, right? You've got to listen to your customers.
Yeah.
Constantly be listening.
I think that's a superpower that you have, because you're in the weeds with us. Right. I tell you, Dawar, I just walked you up to my recruiter, like, what don't you like about? I just like that's the kind of partner we need.
Yeah.
Someone who's in the weeds, like helping us get better, innovating with us, like. And I tell my people all the time, like, I'm not going to work with a CEO that doesn't play ball.
Well, also because you don't know what you don't know, right? It's like, especially in software, like you think that you're building something right, and then you find out that what you built is not what people like. There's a great book in software. It says, "Don't make me think." The easiest software, the best software are the ones that you don't have to use a lot, that you could go in and out.
Yeah.
So we're constantly, obsessed about how can we make things easier? How can we make things more efficient? Because if we can make things more easier and efficient, it'll drive ROI for you.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you think like that, because the experience that people have with Loan Sifter is nothing close to that. And Loan Sifter is not always innovating. They're not coming up with creative solutions with the brokers. There is no tech team or support team or any team that really help us get better or improve our the way we're quoting, or I love it with you. I'm like, Dawar, let's build this API. Let's figure this. Let's tag it to this. Like
here you go.
Yeah. Well, you'll make it happen. So that's the kind of mindset that we need to grow. The problem with the mortgage industry that we see as a whole, like whether it was Calix Point, whether it's Loan Sifter, whether it's Optimal Blue or Encompass, or these big companies that they're maintaining the status quo with their technology.
And we do that not just for the brokers too, but we also do that for the lenders. So as like the space right now, conventional financing is tough. You got a lot of people that have refinanced, and during the sugar high, I call it the sugar high in 2020, like that time where you could find anyone to refinance.
Yeah.
Now you're looking for innovative products. And a good example of that is our relationship with Deep Haven, because when we got into when we started dealing with Deep Haven is a pricing engine client. They're an enterprise client. They helped us understand how to build user interfaces and functionality that's needed for the non-QM space. So we do that as well, is that we partner. It's a true partnership. Because the hardest thing, I think, in the non-QM space is educating loan officers in how to sell, right? How to sell non-QM loans.
Yeah.
And it's also listening to our enterprise clients and letting them, listening to them and them telling us, this is how the UI should work. This is how the user experience should be. And hopefully that trickles down to other loan officers using it.
So that just brings me to this question. Like, you're working with the investors, right? These non-QM investors, and figuring out how to really optimize the pricing solution for non-QM lenders?
Absolutely. So we came up with a thing called a configurable UI, right? Because non-QM, it's different in the sense that if you look at legacy pricing engines, the UI was very, you couldn't make any changes, right?
Yeah.
So we came up with a configurable UI where, think of it like a like your, what are some of those websites that you could just drag and drop and
Job form,
yeah,
or
exactly.
something like that.
So that's our UI. So you can actually
just create your own UI for non-QM, or can you do it for hard money too? The hard money has nothing.
You can do it for anything. It's flexible. So when
you got to help these hard money guys out. They're just stuck. I got to introduce you to Valkyrie. Great bank, but they're just archaic.
So that's the whole thing. Is like, so when we first architected our application, it's not just for mortgages. It's for all consumer lending products. So it's everything from, we've got a fantastic home equity UI.
You got to dominate. There's no market in the.
Get into auto. We want to get into other areas. Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially our banking clients, this is.
Matter of fact, I'm just going to invest. Just get me a partnership interest, and I'm just going to go balls to the wall and make all the intros.
So what we're doing, and I think this will be out by the time you guys have this live, is we've had a great relationship with Chase Retail. So Chase Correspondent Lending is now our client. So so we've expanded that relationship to Chase Correspondent. So the portal that everyone uses today, that if you're not going to sell loans to the agencies, Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie, and if you're going to sell to Chase, you've got to use that portal. That portal is our portal, and that's going to be released at the end of the year.
That's amazing. So let me ask you this. You've been an entrepreneur. You've had several journeys in your entrepreneur lifeline. What do you think has been like your biggest inspiration to start your entrepreneur journey?
The inspiration is mainly just to be able to build a product that people can use. Because I could tell you this, like earlier on when we're developing and coding the application, John, who's my brother-in-law, came to our office, and I was like, John, I go, Quantifine's doing so well, and you got so much money invested, and I can't wait till the company gets to that point. And he goes, Dawar, he goes, what you're doing right now, where you have no money, and then you're buying you're paying $1.50 for a hot dog at lunch.
Still, they haven't changed the price. Costco's still $1.50.
Yeah,
still $1. Well, still one of the best deals. It is the best deal in America.
$1, yeah. But that would be a lunch, and then he goes, this is the time that you're going to remember and you're going to cherish the most. Is when you don't have clients, you don't have anything else, and you're doing what you love, which is building software.
I would also, I'm going to tell you, because I saw this the other day, keep that immigrant, or that, I don't know if you're an immigrant. I'm an immigrant.
I came as a refugee.
Yeah. Me too. So I came at 5, and I've always maintained that immigrant poverty mentality, and people have always made fun of me. I saw something that really was cool to see. It was LeBron James is actually the cheapest person in the NBA. And in this video, they have LeBron James. He packs his own lunch. He packs his own snacks. He doesn't pay for anything. He makes people, when he goes to dinner with the other guys, they all buy him lunch. And I'm like, that's why he's the richest guy in the NBA. It's like he's maintained that. He packs his own snacks. He doesn't buy snacks at the game. It's unreal. It could
also be that his snacks are probably healthy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's probably packing pistachios.
Because I think that like you said, you're an immigrant, and I came here as a refugee, and I think that when you come here, you don't have the network.
Yeah.
So when my parents came here, they had nothing. My father was a Maytag repairman. My mother was a hairdresser. And then my mother ended up opening up her own shop because, that's what immigrants do. You can't find jobs. So it's you got to open up your own business. So then
hustle in your community.
So then that's what you do.
Yeah. And it's just instilled in us. Yeah. It's instilled in us. So you've seen a lot of success, a lot of challenges. What do you foresee in the fintech space in the future, with the advent of AI? And I just told you about all the different AI platforms we're using. What do you foresee? How is this going to impact the enterprise?
So number one, I've got a graduate degree in computer science, but the emphasis is in AI, machine learning, right? So that's where, I love...
But even that's changed, right? So much.
It's changed, but if you look at AI is really about correlating data, looking at patterns, and now you're seeing ChatGPT. So one of the things that we did back in 2016, when nobody knew what natural language processing is we implemented NLP on our rules management side of things on their back end. So now you know what NLP is because everyone's using ChatGPT. But I think that AI is great because I think it's going to enhance the ability for you to get things done faster.
Yeah.
It's not going to replace loan officers. It's not going to replace underwriters. It is going to make it so that underwriters can process loans faster or get through loans faster. It's going to help in terms of regulating the regulation side of things.
Yeah, regulations. Now the regulators are asking for 10 times more data because you can get it because of the technology, and they could read it faster.
Borrower, and I think Ali Cardi is a good example of a person out there that promotes how Gen Z, consumers think.
Who's Ali Cardi?
She works for I think company called Comply.io, I believe. And she's kind of in the industry, teaching the industry how Gen Z borrowers, operate.
Okay.
And Gen Z borrowers, from my understanding, is I'm not Gen Z, but they're really about getting as much information online as they can, right? And I think that with AI and being able to ask questions, it's amazing that you can ask ChatGPT questions about a mortgage and it gives you answers, right? Have you done that?
I asked ChatGPT everything. ChatGPT is I'm an assistant coach for my kids' baseball team, and I asked ChatGPT, what can 8-year-old boys do in the dugout to just keep motivated? And it gave me 10 things. I'm like, this is great. Everything.
I do the same thing.
I don't know. I couldn't come up with ways to keep 8-year-old boys sitting down. They're waiting to bat, or they're waiting to, catch, or they're, whatever it is, they're waiting for their position. They're losing their mind, they're all this generation. So, how do you keep them motivated? And ChatGPT answered with great suggestions.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is that I think it's going to be ubiquitous in terms of how it's used. You're seeing it inside Microsoft products with Gemini. I don't know if you've enabled that. You're seeing it.
Gemini is its own ChatGPT.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Gemini is through Google. It's offered in their. If you ever have like Google,
We switched off of Google into Microsoft.
Oh, okay, so Microsoft, I think, has their own, their own version. Everything is going to have a version of AI.
Yeah.
And that
We're building our own AI too for EMC.
So that's what I'm saying. You have to incorporate it in somehow. Accelerate just did that. They're a CRM product out there. Everyone's doing it. I think that the most important piece for us is that because we're part of a regulatory environment, is that
hyper-regulatory
is that if you're going to use any API frameworks, like let's say ChatGPT's OpenAI's framework, you got to understand that whatever all of the inputs within the solution that you build that's pushing it to ChatGPT's API, and depending on what you're going to do, that may not work. Like so for us. We're building our own LLM and SLM, small language models within our company, because pushing pricing data or any type of NPI data or any type of sensitive data is not something that you want to push to OpenAI's framework. So,
but is it sensitive if it's generic? Because
depends on what you send, right? You can't send loan information, you can't send FICO score, you can't send all that stuff there, right? Which is why, like some of our banking clients, like when we mentioned AI, and they're like, "Well, how are you using it?" Their biggest concern was like, "I hope you're not
sensitive
you're using
pinging it to ChatGPT or So you have to build your own.
Exactly. Yeah.
To avoid that.
We're not. We're really focusing on small language models and the algorithms that's incorporated in the small language models. Yeah.
I can't imagine what ChatGPT's repurposing my questions for. Now they know like everything that I'm thinking.
And it's getting better and better, right?
Yeah. Like now, like what kind of data they got on us.
Yeah.
That's like.
But it's exciting. I mean,
it is. I mean, it's really, we're doing what 20 companies are doing now.
I'll tell you this. You create an email, right? And then it's middle of the night. Someone sends you something, and you're like, yeah, you got your this angry email that you're writing, and then you quickly highlight it and you go friendly tone, and then you send it out.
Yeah, no, I just still delete. I actually haven't started doing that. I didn't even know. You just add the email into ChatGPT.
Yeah, Jasper is a good example. Jasper.ai is a good example.
Just change it to friendly tone.
Yeah, and then there's also apps out there that you could use for text as well. So that way, you could sound a little bit better and smarter.
It's just amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, I have a few friends that do that. They run it through ChatGPT before they send out their email. Yeah. Are there any like specific skills or a mindset that you have to have right now to be a successful entrepreneur?
I think the most important thing, and this is why, like, when I was younger and I created the mortgage company, was that, number one, if you're the type of person that says that I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, you're never going to do it. You just have to take that first step, right? It's kind of like when you apply for your broker exam, right? Just fill out the application. Whatever you do is take that first step, and everything else will work itself out. I think that's what entrepreneurs know.
Yeah.
It's just taking the first step. The vast majority of people that want to own their own business never take the first step.
It's just like the gym.
Yeah.
The hardest part of going to the gym is just getting up and going there.
Just take the first step, and you're going to get there. And then I just think that that's the thing. And then the other thing too is I like to see a lot of parents out there. Get them to, get your kid to start looking at ways to build a business, whatever it is, at an earlier age, right? Not that, hey,
it needs to make money,
that, but if they're interested in it, encourage them. And whatever it is, just do whatever. I mean, look, dude, I've got a kid right now. I've got one that wants to, he's in high school, and then he wants to get into politics, which I'm like, okay. If that's what you want to do. But again, I've never stopped my kid. See, unlike my parents who was lawyer,
This is what
doctor,
yeah.
lawyer, doctor. For my kids, I'm like, do whatever you want. I've got my youngest son, Andrew, and he plays basketball. And he loves basketball.
But he knows he's not going to the NBA.
No. So this is funny. So I was talking to him, and then so his grandpa, calls him Tata, Tata, and he goes Tata. So Tata comes in the house. This is just literally yesterday. He goes, yeah. So I was talking to Andrew, and then Andrew said, he goes, I don't even know why I have to go to school because I'm gonna go to the NBA.
Yeah, there's no Middle Easterns in the NBA, bro. Not one. Not one. It's like we have zero. Like, name me one NBA player that's Middle Eastern. Like, one. We used to have Ronnie Cycli, but he was Greek and he was like a fluke. 7-foot Greek guy. He's not really a real Middle Eastern guy.
Yeah, and then I mean, I don't know. So for my kid, I mean, my kids, at one point Alexander was like, look, I really want to be a chef. And we said, okay, well, what do you want to do? You want to start cooking? It's whatever he wants to do.
That's awesome. But the NBA thing is kind of tough for a short Middle Eastern guy. They got
It is, right? Hey, but I got to give him credit. So, like, lately,
he's pretty good, though. How old is he?
He is 11 years old.
Okay. I mean, deep down inside, I'd still like to make it to the NBA. I mean, I still play, but I just realized that, I'm just not going to happen for me.
But you know what's funny? So I was coaching him, and he goes, because he's the shortest kid on the team, right? So I was like, what you need to do, Alexander, Andrew, is like, you got to start shooting from the outside. So he's been shooting from the outside.
He's got a good perimeter shot.
So now his shot's getting better.
That's awesome. Yeah. How's his handles? You got to get really good handles.
He's really good at that. He's got his moves.
Yeah.
Dude, he does his moves, but that's about it.
Yeah. It's funny. It's hoop dreams. So out of all the success that you have right now, and you continue to get up and grind every single morning, like 4 a.m., what inspires you to do that every morning?
I think what inspires me is just that I just get what inspires me? I think what inspires me is that I'm doing what I like. I mean, I guess that if you don't like what you're doing, then you don't get up in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy what I'm doing, so that's why I get up in the morning and do it. It's tough, right? You have good days and bad days, but I think what inspires me is that, and then also, I do get a rush as far as getting up in the morning before everybody else, because I feel like I've been able to accomplish things before everyone else does. And it also lets me handle the rest of the stuff that I couldn't get to. So I think that's, that inspires me. I don't know. I just like doing what I'm doing.
You love what you do. Yeah. Love what you do. Now, you're in a hyper-competitive space, the fintech space. What are you doing right now to foster talent and create great talent?
So I think Glenn Stern said it best, is to hire people. It's just not, creating good talent is just really, you have to have a good, program, within your company to kind of like get people to do what they want to do. Right. One thing that Glenn said to me is, he goes, Dawar, he goes, you know how you get successful in this business? He goes, what? He goes, find people that are smarter than you and hire them. So that's what I've been able to do.
That's awesome.
Get folks that are in certain positions that know it really well, put them in those positions, and then, it helps.
I feel like Glenn can say that, and he puts on a front like he's not the smartest guy, but he's the smartest guy in the room every time.
Smart, yeah.
But he can pretend like he's not. But dude, the guy is unreal brilliant.
He is, yeah.
He's unreal brilliant. I mean, you don't become a billionaire and and then you have your own show, Undercover Billionaire, and you start with $500 and become rich again with $500 in the middle of Erie, Pennsylvania.
And he doesn't have to do this again. He's humble. He's doing it just because he loves doing it.
He loves doing it. He just wants to win again. He's just bored. He's like, I'm going round 2.
And I think the other thing too is that, having a good spouse, like Mindy's just amazing.
Mindy's superstar.
Yeah, and for me too, it's like, and I'm sure it's the same thing for you. It's like when you have, if it wasn't for my wife being so supportive, I don't think that I could have done anything.
I was just at lunch yesterday, and if it wasn't for my wife, and I hope she's listening right now, like, I would not be who I am. Like, she has been my sole inspiration. She's also like, she's my kids also. She's a mega inspiration, but she just keeps making me better. Like, she sees some fluke in me, and she's just like, get rid of that. You know,
Or
like
they're able to accept all the flukes in us.
yeah, like or always working on cleansing my flukes,
Yeah.
which is such a blessing.
My kid, my oldest, and I don't know if he does this to irk me. He goes, "You could have had so much better than Dawar." You know?
Like, look at you, mom, and look at him.
Yeah. He goes, like, how's the other? Do you have to say that in front of me?
Yeah, I think my daughter has said something like that to my wife too. And her name's Alexandra. Like these kids, like what? So like right now, your business, and we're wrapping up here, but got a couple last questions. But your business is really, you know, in a hyper regulated space. How are you still managing like taking risks?
I think you have to take risks, but it's measured risk, right? I think that in our space, it's very cyclical, right? So with every down cycle, there's an opportunity. You know, last 2 years has always been tough, but it's always manage risk and figure out like what you need to do to stay alive. You know, because we are in such a cyclical industry.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, you're always managing the kind of risks that you're taking because it's been so cyclical the last couple of years. I mean,
It's always cyclical. It always goes up and down.
but 2020, 2021, you're like, this isn't good. That was a ride of our life. Then 2022, bam, and you gained all the market share then.
Right, but how bad was it in 2008, 2009?
Oh, I mean, you weren't around then though.
It crushed me. It put me out of business.
Yeah, Leonard Price wasn't around. So I have two last questions. But the first of the last questions is a 3-pronged question. What is a personal goal that you have? What is a business goal that you have? And then what's a family goal that you have? And you can answer those in any order.
So I do have a personal goal. So I mean, I'm very goal oriented. So like, you know, I've been really into eating right and doing the exercise stuff. So I think that's done. I've really wanted to learn how to meditate. That's a personal goal of mine. Just meditate, because I think that I hear so much about it. I mean, I've read books about it. I still can't do it. I have a good friend, Brent Chandler from Form Free, that does it really well, and I'm always calling him and asking him what to do. And maybe
Have you tried to do?
I've tried it, but maybe the ADD in me can't do it.
I know. I feel you because I tried that too. It's like take a deep breath in, 5 seconds, hold it, deep breath out, 5 seconds, hold it. Like, and then I do that while I'm stretching and I'm checking my phone, so it doesn't work. You know, like I gotta cut one of those out and just focus on the breathing. I would love to learn to meditate too. It's also like been on my radar. I can't turn off that long.
Yeah.
But the best of the best do it.
Yeah, I would love to do it. Yeah. Family goal would definitely be, you know, it's unfortunate that, you know, like when you're running a company, you're not there for your kids as much, you know. I have a good friend, and then one of the things that he says is never miss a game or a sporting event from your kids, and I try not to do that as best as possible, but I'd like to do better at that.
Do you go to all the practices too?
I do. I try to go to every practice, but that's my goal, is to this year and next year and whatever, is to be there at every single one of their events, because they remember that when they're older.
Yeah.
You know.
I noticed in my town too, in Newport Beach, like the dads they go to every practice. I'm like, and we're in Newport Beach, like, you know, these guys are all very successful men. Like they're at every baseball practice. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And sometimes I hate myself for missing them. Like this guy into it.
Like you feel guilty.
Yeah, I'm like, but there's 3 baseball practices a week.
It's crazy. Like you guys, like it never stops with baseball. Like you're always traveling with baseball. Yeah, you know,
it's a lot. And then I only have one older one, and thank God that, you know, what happens when all 4 of them are in activities? How do you do that? It's like you're full time attending events.
I think the only way you could do that is like one parent has to, because, you know, both Laura and I work. I think one parent has to stop working because you're so busy with doing that. I don't see it in any other way, unless you're really wealthy and you can hire someone to do that for you. Yeah. But then when you do that, then you're just not there at the games.
Yeah.
So there's a drawback there.
Yeah, I'm always asking these questions because, number one, people who are listening are always working on goal setting, and I'm hoping if they're not working on goal setting, they get inspired by hearing goal setting from other CEOs and founders.
And I guess the business one would be to just continue what we're doing, listening to clients. We have some, you know, real important goals this year. But
what are they?
You know, as you're building applications, you start accumulating tech debt, and and there's a ton of features and functionalities that we need to build. Really, the short-term business goal this year is to really get our product roadmap complete by the end of the year, which is easier said than done because you have a lot of distractions. And that would be the biggest business goal, is to end the year where we have all of our roadmap items complete.
Love it. Love it. One last question and we adjourn. When you die, what's God going to say to you in front of the pearly gates? What do you think he's going to say?
I would hope it's something good. What would God say? Oh my gosh. So it's a hard question because, our kids go to Catholic school and everything. I think for me, I hope that I could contribute something. I don't know what that is. But gosh, that's such a hard. What would God say? I mean, I guess the only thing that I want to do and that I've been doing is just to be a good human, just be a good human being. I mean, it's not the success, it's not the money, it's not anything else. It's because I don't care about that, and really I don't have it, right? I mean, you say that, you said a lot of nice things at the very beginning of the show.
It doesn't matter. All that stuff doesn't matter.
Exactly. I think that's the thing is, there's this thing about like when you die, right? None of that stuff matters. And what what I've heard that what matters is that you what you regret is not reaching out to the friends and family and people that that you should have reached out, whether it was something that you had an argument with or something and you just didn't keep in contact with them, or go back and like you had an opportunity to go back and just say, hey, look, I'm thinking about you, and I just want to talk to you again. I think it really comes down to simple terms like that when you're when you're on your dying deathbed. Yeah,
I learn a lot from this experience with sitting down with people, because you get to a point where money is irrelevant. It's just fleeting, and life is just a vapor, right? So we're here for a mission, and we're here to serve, and we're here to do good things, and that's what we're here to do.
It's our family, it's our direct family, it's our it's our friends. That's what life is about.
Yeah.
You could take everything away, and that's what matters the most.
I love it. Hey, Dawar, I'd love to have you on the show, and I love this relationship that we have, and I'd love to continue to grow with you and continue to let people know about how awesome of a platform we have with Lenderprice. And just from this show, I discovered a marketplace that's totally untapped for you that I'm gonna try to get you introduced to today. So
thank you for being a good partner and friend.
Yeah, thank you, Dawar. You've been the best. All right, thank you guys for watching today's show, and we'll see you guys next time. God bless.